Hello. Russell Martin has been confirmed as the new Rangers manager. This is a Go Ballistic special. I'm Ryan Rowe and I'm joined by Roger Hanna. So Russell Martin has said that Rangers were his first choice after being sacked by Southampton after a torrid time in the Premier League. We had Robert Grieve at Ibrox today along with Andy Devlin for Russell Martin's introductory press conference, and this is what he had to say about being given the Rangers job.
I'll be really honest. There was a few opportunities since I left Southampton early on, and then a bit of a break really, and no real interest to get straight back in February and March time, even with some sort of tentative approaches and stuff. But I wanted to take some time to really reflect and review on what we've learned as a coaching staff, and I've learned as a person, as a leader, and as a manager, and as a coach. I think that time was really important. And then when this one was first suggested, and even with a couple of other opportunities on the horizon this last few weeks, this was the one I really wanted. One, because of the expectation, the size of it, what it means to so many people, the opportunity to come here and experience something completely different to anything in football, I think, really. That's what I felt when I played here for a very short period. That also comes into my mind, 'cause it's probably, when I look back on my career as a player, it's the one thing that hurt me a lot was it didn't go very well here, because I wasn't quite in the right place physically to do as well as I possibly could, and it was a difficult time for the club. So also that comes into the equation as well. I have to be really honest. So I'm desperate to show a different version of myself here than I did previously, and just everything, the fresh start, how these guys have been in the process, the owners. It's just really exciting, the whole thing. So I was really honest with these from the outset that I wanted to be the manager, and this would be my first choice. Much to the detriment of my agent, who kept saying to me to play my cards close to my chest. But I was really honest and really open, and I'm delighted I'm now here.
So, Roger, are you and I diametrically opposed on Russell Martin? Now, Robert Grieve broke the story way back in February that he was interested in this post, and he's remained interested, as he said, but doesn't make it the right appointment, does it?
Well, listen, it's one of those. I've spoken in this programme before, Ryan. I didn't think, for me, that Russell Martin was the guy to take Rangers forward. But listen, he's there now. It's funny, we've got a summer of controversial appointments. I think there was some Kilmarnock fans not sure about Stuart Kettlewell, a lot of Dundee fans not sure about Stephen Presley, and there will be Rangers fans not sure about Russell Martin. The thing for Russell Martin is now, and he admitted it himself at his press conference, he needs to prove these doubters wrong. He's arriving at Ibrox with a win percentage of 39%, over 252 games. He hasn't won anything. MK Dons, I think he was 15th in the league, Swansea 10th and 12th. He took Southampton up to the Premier League, a good achievement through that playoff final against Leeds, but he was sacked last season after one win in 16. And the thing Russell Martin needs to show is that he's learned something from that. He's not going to come out and make the same mistakes that he made at Southampton. For me, he needs to temper the style a little bit. He needs to be slightly more pragmatic now he's got a job. But maybe he knows that as well. And listen, it's a new era for Rangers, their 20th manager. And I always think there's an element of risk to any appointment. There's certainly a gamble in this appointment, but Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart believe they've got it right.
Yeah, we'll kind of dive into the stats behind Russell Martin, if you like, but the two other names that seem to be trailed for a long time were Steven Gerrard, David Ancelotti. We then had Brian Priskin, Francesco Farioli. Did any of them strike you as a more realistic or a more safe appointment?
It's strange, as you say, Robert Grieve, our chief football writer, broke the story on February 23rd that the club were interested in Russell Martin. They've remained interested. I think it's probably naive of us to think there was going to be an appointment before the takeover was announced last week. Get the 49ers or Andrew Kavanagh in first, and then things fall into place. Kevin Thelwell started as sporting director on Monday, and now on Thursday morning the appointment of the new manager. I think they probably in the background have been doing due diligence on a lot of candidates. They've spoken about Steven Gerrard, being in the process, Ancelotti being in the process, Prisk, Farioli. If they didn't go and interview other people, I think they would have left themselves open to, claims that they weren't doing their job properly. They've gone, they've spoken to other people, but they've stuck by this belief that Russell Martin is the man to take them forward. He said Rangers were his first choice. I actually think Russell Martin was probably Rangers' first choice as well, rightly or wrongly.
So, the things that made him Rangers' first choice, Kevin Thelwell has spoken about his style of play and his leadership. So it's the style of play that has got people worked up. And I think there's a lot of fans that, when they hear about possession-based football and building out from the back, they maybe think of the sort of slow and ponderous Brendan Rodgers, or they maybe even think of other managers that I've spoken about. I want my teams to dominate the ball. I think of Sean Maloney's Hibs. Lots of possession, but zero purpose. Southampton, when they were in the Championship, they scored plenty of goals, got plenty of points. They beat a good Leeds team in the playoffs. I mean, that Leeds team lost Crescencio Somerville that year. And I think that Southampton team in the Championship's a more accurate comparison than the hands up, that dreadful Southampton team we saw in the Premier League.
Yeah. Listening to the press conference this morning, a lot of buzzwords: culture, philosophy, courage, intensity, all of that. Rangers fans want hard work, they want wins, they want goals, they want points. A lot of people have spoken about this MK Dons goal that was scored at the end of 56 passes. Rangers fans just want the 56th title. That's all they want. And Russell Martin's going to need to find a way to stop the goals going in. I think there was only one clean sheet in the last 14 domestic games for Rangers last season. Not good enough. If he wants to play out from the back, he's going to have to bring players in capable of playing out from the back. Because I'm not convinced the current squad, and the current squad finished 17 points behind Celtic, and there's 9 players who had first team action last season have gone from that squad. Russell Martin's main job is to bring in footballers who are capable of playing football the way he wants it played, because I don't think the ones left behind at Ibrox just now fit into Russell Martin's preferred style of play.
Yeah, I mean, that's looking into that. I actually think, and he struggled with injuries, John Souttar, but I think he could be a big player for Russell Martin because he is decent with the ball at his feet, but Russell Martin will want that Rangers team to play a high line. He's another one, like Brendan Rodgers, like Ange Postecoglou, the inverted fullbacks. I don't think that suits James Tavernier. No. So do you see a change or Jeffy? Do you think that might mean it's a change of position for them, or do they just get pushed out, as in onto the bench or into the periphery? Maybe not so much for Tavernier. We've seen Dujon Sterling operate as a defensive midfielder for Rangers. He may slot into the right back slot.
Injured, of course, so bad injury at the end of the season.
There's a lot that's, you're right, he needs to bring in players, but kind of looking at the style of play, they seem to get a lot of men into the box, Southampton, in that Championship season. There was a lot of numbers, a lot of men in the box, and hear that phrase, and I know there's certain people that hate the low block phrase, but that's what Rangers will face, and that's what Southampton faced in the Championship, and they proved effective enough to break it down. But there's no denying the squad that's there just now needs a lot of tweaking. I mean, you've said before, I think, to me on this show, new goalkeeper, new centre-half, new centre midfielder, new striker.
I wrote in the Scottish Sun this morning, there's 6 areas that he needs to address. The goalkeeper, who is first choice, because Jack Butland lost the gloves to Liam Kelly, who was then injured, and Butland finished the season in goal. Who starts those Champions League qualifiers next month? They are just next month now. The captain, is it Tavernier? 33 years old. His numbers were down last year. There's Russell Martin, who played with him at Rangers, remember? Does he stick with him? John Souttar, Balogun's gone. Robin Propper looks as if he could be heading back to the Netherlands. Souttar's only recognised centre-half, and he's only got 1 year left in his deal. That needs to be sorted. Left-back, if Yilmaz goes back to Turkey, does he trust Jeffy to play this style that he wants to play, that he looks ill-suited to? Midfield, I think he'll be less troubled by Raskin and Diamande are playing well. Conor Barn might get a first Scotland cap in the next 3 or 4 days. You never know. Dessers, for all his critics, was the top scorer in the Premiership.
Hard work you spoke about, that's one thing he offers.
Absolutely. I would be more concerned about the wide areas. You look at the wide areas and what Celtic have got, Jota and Kuhn and Maeda, and they've got Forrest and even Yang. Rangers don't really have much there because Czerny's gone, Hadji's gone, Bajrami hasn't offered much, Cortez hasn't offered much, even Tom Lawrence is gone now. So he desperately needs players. If he's talking about hard work and energy and pace and running power, he needs players in those areas as well.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, 2 of the players that you mentioned there that I'd like to touch on, Raskin and Diamande, one or both of them may end up going, but if he's able to hold on to those two players in this system, if Connor Barron or maybe another that comes in to play the defensive midfield role, those two pushing up might get a bit of freedom. Raskin was coming on to a game last season, and Diamande, when he's on it, looks like one of the better players in the league, but it's finding that consistency.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said that Russell Martin's one of his main qualities is just making players better. So there's a lot for Rangers fans to take just from the few that have shown quality he can make better.
Well,
but it's bringing others in.
He'll need to make them better. There's no question about that. You can throw in Igamani and people like that as well who will need to improve. Again, lots of Rangers players show flashes of what they can do. You just don't do it on a consistent basis. So Russell Martin will have to find that consistency. He might need to find that consistency of selection as well, because there's been a lot of chopping and changing in the Rangers team. You know, if you said, what was the Rangers' first 11 last season? You wouldn't really know it chopped and changed so much. But as you say, the most important thing is recruitment. And they'll need to fall back on Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy, who's come in now for Neil Scoppin. They will need to show their worth very, very early in this operation and get players in who can hit the ground running and can play the way that Russell Martin wants them to play. Otherwise, the project is, it's doomed from the start.
Yeah, I mean, he's spoken as well. I think he's spoken in the past, and I think we've got the red flag of Mark Warburton saying Plan B is to do Plan A better,
Yeah.
and it seems as though Russell Martin feels that way.
Very much.
He'll word it as, I don't want to change, I just want to make my approach better, which is just another way of saying Plan A is to make Plan B better.
I was fascinated. I watched Russell Martin a few weeks ago on the Monday Night Football on Sky Sports, and they showed a lot of the goals that Southampton had lost in those 16 games at the start of last season before he lost his job. And on many occasions, it's goalkeeper to centre half or goalkeeper to left back or centre half to left, and they lose the ball and the opposition score. And there was nothing at all from Russell Martin that indicated he felt the idea was wrong. He just kept saying, but we just needed to do it better. And they couldn't do it better. And they didn't do it better. And he lost his job. So if he is going to come into Rangers, he needs to decide, does he have the players to do that, to play that way? And if he doesn't, is he going to temper that style to a style that suits his players better?
Yes, I mean, I wonder there if Russell Martin at Southampton will come up against, no disrespect, probably a weaker standard of opposition.
Yeah, West Brom and
than that was a personal dig there. But yeah, in the Premier League versus the Scottish Premiership, he'll come up against a weaker standard of opposition. So the Rangers defenders won't be asked to play out. And also, I think a lot of teams will sit back against Rangers while the press is high.
People talk about a weaker standard of opposition, but Motherwell didn't look weak when they came and won at Ibrox.
Absolutely not, no.
St Mirren didn't look weak when they won back-to-back against Rangers. Hibs didn't look weak when they came and won 2-0 at Ibrox, So there's nothing easy in the Scottish Premiership. Ask Philip Clement, he's lost at Dingwall and dropped points at Dens Park. That was where Rangers tripped up in the last season or two, an inability to break the low block, an inability to win the games that they should be winning. Actually, the record against Celtic last season was good, back-to-back wins at the end of the season. It was the games against the rest that they toiled with when they couldn't break teams down. Russell Martin needs to find the key.
So to finish off this debate, predictions. This is as early days can be. Yeah. We've not even kicked the ball in pre-season yet, let alone a Champions League qualifier. Predictions for Rangers next season. Do they win a trophy? Do they win trophies?
Listen, they can win a trophy. You've seen Aberdeen winning a Scottish Cup. You've seen St Johnstone winning 2 trophies in the one season. Of course they can win a trophy. They won a League Cup under Philip Clement. They won a Scottish Cup under Giovanni van Bronckhorst. They won a league under Steven Gerrard. Anything's possible. I think Celtic are miles ahead at the minute. Absolutely miles ahead. 17 points clear this season. And they just have so many advantages in terms of the squad at the minute, the financial muscle they've got at the minute. If Russell Martin wins a league in his first season in charge, it will be one of the greatest achievements in Rangers history. As we stand here today on the 5th of June, Celtic will be massive favourites. And I think in season 1, even if Russell Martin can get them to within 5 or 6 points of Celtic, I think that would be a good achievement. I cannot see them winning a league in season 1.
Well, I won't predict that either. I'll predict that Rangers will win a trophy, but our own Robert Grieve, as I said, he was at Ibrox and he put this very question to Russell Martin.
Russell, as you sit here now, you're talking about having to win, the club having to win. As you sit here now, are you confident you can get a team in the pitch that could win the title next season, this coming season?
I think we're confident we can have a team that is better, gets more points, wins more games, and competes. Yeah, really competes to win trophies.
So thanks for tuning in to this Globalistic special. Rangers fans, let us know in the comments what you think of what we've said and indeed what Russell Martin has said, the appointment in general. Celtic fans, fans across the Premiership, what do you think of this appointment? And don't forget to stay tuned to the Scottish Sun, both in the paper and online and on YouTube, for all the latest news and sport.